Welcome to the Naked Podcaster. I'm really excited because we've been trying to do this for like 8 months and we're here at 5 a.m., butt crack of dawn. I'm here with Shauna Armitage. Shauna, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm fantastic. And Shauna has a 5-month-old. So if we hear some stuff in the background, that's just her taking care of her family, which is awesome. And I'm going to start out by saying we can find you at shaunaarmitage.com, which will be linked in the description. So I want to get started. Let's go back first at the stuff that was tough and then bring it forward. And I want to know, the who, what, why, how you got through stuff and about the business and why that was launched and what you're doing.
Oh my gosh, there's so much tough stuff. But I mean, everybody has that, right?
Yes.
I think that, my journey really started when I got out of college. I didn't go straight to teaching, which is what I went to college for. And I was really afraid to take a teacher test. So I ended up waiting tables for a long time. I went back to school. I got a degree in professional writing. At that point, the economy had really crashed. And it was really hard to get a job. So I had 2 degrees. I had loans for 2 degrees, and I had just no job and no prospects, which was terrifying. And my life was a little different then because my husband and I got pregnant when I was 21. We were both 21. So while most people are kind of enjoying their first year out as an adult, at bars and things like that, 6 months into it, I had gotten pregnant, and that just changed everything. So instead of having a wedding, we had a baby instead. And I had to wait tables, and just, going back and getting a traditional job was harder because I didn't have anything set up in place. I had to be home to take care of the baby. So I started freelancing on the side, and that really led to more opportunities. I've always been a good writer. I've always really enjoyed writing. And I started working for this marketing company, this online marketing company, and they hired me as their director of digital content. And I realized at that point that all this writing, all this stuff that I was doing was actually marketing. And I had never realized that before. So I learned more and more about marketing, and that just seemed to be a really happy place for me. So I was in different positions, from that point on. And in 2017, I actually left my very nice, cushy, stable job as an SEO coach to work with a friend of mine at a digital agency that he had just started. I thought this was my dream job. I was so excited about it. And things were great at first. A couple of months in, he started hiring people that we didn't really need from his church. He would make friends and he would start hiring them. And then he wasn't really interested. The more men he was putting on the team, he wasn't really interested in hearing from me anymore. And that was a hard pill to swallow because we had been close and was really personally invested in the growth of his company. And then, it went from just hiring people that we didn't need to working on projects that we didn't need to do. And I would be hearing from the clients, this isn't getting done, or we're not seeing results, or this isn't happening. And when I tried to talk to him about these problems, he didn't want to hear it. It wasn't my problem. And I didn't back down. And about 6 months after he hired me, he fired me. And I had never been fired from a job before. It was mortifying. And not only did he fire me, he fired me 3 weeks before my husband left for the Middle East for a 6-month deployment. My husband's in the Air Force. So here I am. My husband's about to leave. I've got 3 kids at home, and I have no idea what I'm going to do. I thought about getting my traditional job, but my resume, bouncing around from freelance gig to freelance gig doesn't really support that. People don't really like to see that kind of stuff on a resume when they're hiring for a full-time position. And what I ended up doing was just no, I love this marketing stuff. I'm good at it. And I think if I just treat people right, that they'll stick with me, that they'll be good to me. So I started my own business, and I was really lucky because within the first month, one of the clients, I didn't have a non-compete because I thought I was going to be working with this guy forever. And one of the clients had come over and left his company and started working with me. So I was incredibly lucky that I got my first client basically within my first 30 days of starting up. And
so I want to go back for just a second.
Yeah.
Did you ever have the wedding?
Did I ever have what?
The wedding?
Not sort of. I mean, we did get married. I always tell this funny story about when we got together because I lived in Maine and my husband was in Massachusetts, and we knew each other from college, but we were like friendly, not friends. And he messaged me on Facebook one day. I had moved home from college, and he's like, "Hey, my cousin's having a wedding in Maine, and you're the only person I know in Maine. You want to come with me?" And I was like, "Sure." So we had so much fun at that wedding, and it was like our first time where we actually like hanging out outside of work. And we really vibed, and we've been together ever since. So he moved into my place a month after that wedding. 6 months later, we were engaged. 7 months later, we were pregnant. And
wow.
then at that point, at that point, we were like, we can't afford to have a wedding. Like, babies cost money. So anything that we had saved up for the wedding just kind of went out the window. But you still have to have a ceremony in Maine, apparently. So the year before, I got this little black dress when I was in Italy. And I was like, well, I don't know if I'm ever going to be able to fit into this again. So I wore a little black dress. And in Maine, where I live, I was right on the Saco River, and there's this beautiful cemetery where a lot of people get married that overlooks the water. So we had a little ceremony there with like just our parents and his sister. And then we went out to eat with some friends. That was our wedding. But I always joke that we got married, me in a little black dress in the cemetery. That's how we started our life together.
Pregnant.
Yeah, pregnant.
I mean, you don't need to do it the traditional way. So was he in the Air Force from the very beginning?
He wasn't. He was actually kind of an old man compared to everybody else when he got in. A lot of people go in right after high school, or they get a degree and then they go in as an officer. But we were having a really hard time. He was working at Walmart. He was waiting tables. I was staying home with the baby and then waiting tables at night. We didn't see each other. We didn't really love the life we were living, that way. We had to live with family to survive. So when my son was about a year and a half old, he's like, I really thought about doing the military. I really thought about the Air Force when I was in high school. I think I'm going to check it out. And I was like, all right, knock yourself out. And it took a few years. It was after my son's 3rd birthday when he went to basic training. But he had just turned 25 when he went to basic training. So he was at training with these 18, 19-year-old kids. So at 25, he was basically the old man there. But we've had a really interesting experience because we were out in the real world. We were doing, some of these tough jobs. I was waiting tables and cleaning toilets at that point. And then our life really, really changed when he went into the Air Force. We had to move away from friends and family. His schedule changed, and my ability to work changed because not only did we move away, but in the military, you move every couple of years.
Yeah.
So it's really tough to do a professional position when you move every couple of years because they want commitment. It costs them money to have to retrain somebody to do that position. So that's kind of when I got into the gig economy and started picking up things. I worked on Elance. It's Upwork now, but it was Elance back in the day.
So you had, how many kids were born when he joined the military 3 years into your relationship?
Only one. We actually waited a long time to have our second child because the military can actually deny you if you've got too many dependents. So even if we got pregnant after he had already signed the contract, they could have been like, well, you signed this contract when you only had the wife and the one baby, so we're not going to take you anymore. And, we knew that this was kind of going to be a game changer for us. So we just weren't interested in messing that up in any way,
Right. So the military was the first big change. Bless you. and then, and then moving around, because you guys had never lived outside of the East Coast.
That's correct.
And then you're right. See, I was military dependent for a few years, like you are. I didn't mind them moving and stuff, and I only had one child at the time. I wasn't pregnant when he went in, but it was a similar situation. And like, I wanted to finish my degree back then, and it was almost women in the military as dependents who get their degree in less than like 15 years. It's astounding. You can't, your stuff doesn't transfer and you lose credits and you're constantly starting back over. And so I totally get it. You can't be in this perfect corporate job, or it's really, really difficult. With education, you would have had to get licensed in every single state you went to. Correct?
Yeah, absolutely.
So the military is one of my favorite things. I'm 48 and I would join now if they took me, but you can't do a lot of things traditionally. You really have to think out of the box. So you were kind of already doing that. I also had little kids and waited tables and cleaned houses. So we have a few similarities here.
We do, for sure.
Yeah, I get it. I mean, I wanted to spend more time, especially when my first one was little, and cleaning houses and working at restaurants and being a nanny. I could have her with me for most of the time. And so
absolutely.
It made it so much easier. You don't make that much money, but you have a better schedule to work around. So, okay. So you waited, and you were it sounds to me like you were kind of already by default accidentally set up for freelancing and having your own business. You just didn't know it.
I didn't. I was on the time getting a job, and we were at a family function one time, and my husband's cousin's wife actually suggested to me, like, a lot of people do virtual assisting online. Why don't you try it out? So I looked into it. I got my first gig within 2 weeks, and it didn't pay well. It wasn't a lot of hours. So I realized that I could stack a couple of these positions, and I could do okay money-wise. I could do it, whenever I wanted. And I think a combination of my husband going into the military and us having to move, and the fact that I wasn't landing any interviews, although I had 2 really decent degrees. That was kind of the rise of the gig economy, at that point in time, around 2010, 2011. So when that happened, that for me, it was the perfect storm. It really kind of pushed me into doing freelance work, when being a freelancer and not having stable income was like never in my plan.
Right. So you had the teaching degree and the writing degree. Marketing, was that a happy accident too? Because I can see how that would segue in pretty well.
It was a happy accident because I started working for this guy for a digital agency, a marketing agency. He needed someone to write, and I'm a pretty good writer, and I write very fast. So people were really excited to give me like a set amount instead of an hourly, because I could bang out, 2 or 3 articles in an hour, depending on the topic and, what part of the research was already done, things like that. So he really, really liked my writing. I started becoming in charge of all this content. And one of his things was like, if I'm going to pay you, you need to know about marketing. So I did the free inbound marketing training with HubSpot. And it's actually a lot to do. I think I failed it first time, maybe the second time. It took me 2 or 3 times to pass it because I'm not a good test taker. And I swear, HubSpot's out to trick you. Like, those questions aren't always intuitive. So I took that, and then I was like, yeah, this makes sense, and I can do this. And so it all really started to click. And then I didn't move away from the writing, but I realized that there was so much more. And the writing that I was doing kind of played into this bigger picture of what attracts consumers to brands, and, what helps brands actually grow.
I think marketing, as a person who has my own business, marketing and branding are 2 dirty names. And
Yeah.
because they're scary, and you don't know, and you don't feel like you can do everything, and you're excited about the business, whatever that is, that the marketing and branding, that's very peripheral, and you can know that it's important and not have any idea what to do, which makes you feel dumb and nobody wants to. And branding seems so much like the colors and the font, and it's far more about the language that you use. And I personally don't think anybody can very easily write the content on their website themselves. It's an outside perspective that writes it, because it's not just third person, it's very outside perspective. Yeah. So
I think it's brilliant that you say that. I think so many small business owners undervalue marketing.
I think all business owners undervalue marketing, and the problem with that is that that's the growth. You can have pretty colors, but if your language is terrible and confusing, or it puts people off, and you're not, and you're the best at what you do, but nobody knows, it doesn't matter that you're the best that ever was. People have to know. So you slid into marketing more than writing. Do you still do both though?
I still do some writing for my clients, but it really depends. So when I started my business, I felt like there was this gap. You've got marketing consultants who consult businesses, maybe create a marketing plan or a marketing strategy for them, but they don't execute on it. So they have like this wealth of information, and they kind of like dump it on the business owner. Business owner's excited, but then when they step out and try to do it on their own, they're like, holy shit, I have no idea what any of this actually means, or how I'm going to do it. And then you have the agencies, which they just burn through clients. They've got some good results that they can put forward that really sells people on working with them. But ultimately, they're into making money for themselves. They're not trying to make money for your company. And that's my experience when I worked for my friend, actually, is that it was just, well, I don't care if they're not happy with that. We'll just sign another client. And that broke my heart, because these small business owners, or even startup founders, they're investing a lot of their own money. They're investing a lot of time into making this business work. So the idea that, it just doesn't matter if they're getting results, or it just doesn't matter if we're going too slow on getting the website up, because we'll just get another client. It matters a lot to them, because they have very limited resources to make a go of this. So if they don't get it right the first time, they may be in a lot of trouble. And I really wanted to work in a way that, first of all, that I felt that had integrity, because I don't think that everybody does that, and it bothers me. But also, I wanted to have a more intimate relationship where I could be a partner for these businesses, instead of just somebody who executes, certain tasks for them. And to me, you'd have to ask my clients, but to me, I think that makes all the difference, because they feel like they don't just hire me as a contractor. They feel like I'm actually on their team. And I work on everything from their marketing to their business development, and just having that strong relationship, it means everything to them when they're in that stage where they're really trying to make a go of it with their business.
I think we've been so inundated. First of all, when all of the ads started happening on social media, I mean, if I get one more email a week from Facebook about how great my post is doing. You know, you can do a lot. You can do everything with the right kind. You can put your money in the right ways and make a big difference. And I don't feel personally that those are necessarily the right ways. But we're so inundated with pay here, pay here, pay here to grow, you know, and everybody's now a coach that didn't know what they were doing for 2 years and felt lost and confused, and then had a moment on the beach and then epiphany, and now they're awesome. And I'm not saying that those people aren't awesome, but a lot of them are not. And it's so hard to swim in this sea of inundation of people who can help you when the majority of them don't know what they're doing, can't help you, and don't have your best interest at heart. And to rise above that, you know, you've used the word integrity several times, but I feel like you actually put yourself in their shoes. Like, you feel for these people.
Yeah.
You know, you're very, very on board. And a lot of people aren't. There's a lot of stuff out there that's not like that. So it's always refreshing when you find someone who really wants them. And I've been on your website, which is awesome. You're welcome. It's really good. Are
you on the new one? Are you on the ShaunaArmitage.com one?
Yes, I am.
That's pretty new, so it's exciting to hear you say that, because it's much different than what I had been doing when I started the business last year.
Well, it's very happy and it's very easy to navigate. So, like, I love breaking down websites. I love floating pictures, and that's some of the colors and stuff that aren't absolutely necessary. But what I like is you really talk about what drives you and what your story is, and who people can talk to get information. Because you can say you're awesome every single day, all day, but if some people don't hear it from your clients, you know, it's better from the clients, and you have a lot of that. So I love testimonials, because if I'm hiring somebody, I'll actually work them and your services, and you actually talk cost. Now, I want to address that, because that is one of the most difficult things, I think, for small business owners and you're a small business owner helping other small business owners. I mean, you have focused on the people that are startups. You're not looking for, I was just going to say Coca-Cola, because you said you're a lover of Coca-Cola. So I know that's where that came.
I'm obsessed with Coca-Cola.
But you're not looking for huge corporate clients. You are focusing on small startups with little money and no idea what to do. And although you know what to do, you're a small business owner also. So it's got to resonate with you.
There's when I started, I never, some people are like, I was an entrepreneur since I was 11 and selling lemonade and, doing this, that, and the other thing. I never wanted to be an entrepreneur. I just wanted somebody to give me a paycheck and do something that I thought was fun. So when I went out and did this entrepreneur thing, I was clueless. I had no idea how to be a business owner. I had no idea what that meant. And I had a lot to learn. I've had issues with accountants. I had my business not structured properly. So I actually had to have an accountant who's fixing that for me right now. One big thing, and I'm going to let you in on this little secret, is that my probably first year in business, I flopped around everywhere. And that's why you see the new website. I knew the marketing part, but I didn't know the business part. And one thing is that I knew who I wanted to serve, but I didn't know who I actually should be serving. So I really tried to serve female entrepreneurs in the beginning, because I was just so passionate about the experience that I was having. I wanted to pay it forward. I wanted to help people in that way. But it just didn't click. I don't know if there's just too many gurus out there or business coaches out there, but I was making no progress. And I ended up having 2 businesses find me. One came to me from a co-working space I was working at. And funny enough, one of them had been working with my old boss, and they remembered seeing me And they're like, you seem pretty cool. You seemed like you knew what you were doing. Can we talk? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. So I got really lucky. These two clients literally fell into my lap. And that they're both startups. They're both early stage startups that have some funding, not enough to actually hire a marketing person full time. And then I just had this aha moment, like, this is who needs me. So instead of going after other female entrepreneurs, instead of trying to, build this online presence where I can, do marketing with female business owners, I'm going to focus on startups. If I get to work with female founders, that's just an extra bonus because there are not a lot of female founders out there. But it took over a year of going to networking events and trying different things on social media and, all this garbage before I actually found, my sweet spot.
I think that's so common. And I think when you're a new business and you really want to help other new businesses and you're really trying, it does take a while, and we're not good at everything. I need my CPA. Oh my God. I would I can't do her job, but she's her own business. And I accidentally heard about her 15 years ago, and she happens to be a woman who's a single mom who works from her house, who is an incredible CPA, and I love her. And, but God, what would I do without, you can't be everything in your business. And that's what you're saying to people who are startups and need marketing. My CPA is saying,
and I think
you're saying that. Yeah.
I think startup founders actually realize that more than the regular small business owner does. Because startup culture, if you want to get funding, they want to see your team. They don't want to see that you took X, Y, and Z courses on marketing and you're trying to lead development and do the marketing, and run the company operations all on your own. They want to see that you have a strong team and that you have people who have different skill sets actually owning the different parts of your business.
Right.
Or a small business owner, anytime I've had a consult with a small business owner, they're like, wow, I love you. I love what you do, but I can't afford it. And that's just kind of the mindset. Like, I'm going to have to figure out how to do this myself. I'm going to have to take the course. I'm going to have to try to figure it out myself. And that's fine. I never want someone investing money in me that they truly don't have. But it's just a different mindset where the startup founder is like, I absolutely need your skill. And the small business owner is like, well, I can probably figure out how to do this on my own.
Yeah. Yeah. And if they can, that's great. I'm a do-it-yourselfer. I'm a chronic do-it-yourselfer, but I like to take courses to learn that I can't do it myself, but I have a better understanding of it. I'm really not good at branding, but I understand branding inside and out. Marketing too. I know that because I took a course thinking I could do it myself. So I think sometimes some of us need that to realize that we get it and we don't know how to do it, and that's okay. But you're right, there are different mentalities, and people want to save money everywhere they can, and I get that too. Now
I do too.
I want to talk about on your services page, you list how much you charge. Not everybody does that. It's like, please do the consultation, because if you can just hook them into the consultation and you give 30 minutes of your time, you have a 60% conversion rate, whatever the formula is. And I know a lot of the time when you're on a consult with somebody and you like them and you understand it, you do want to spend the money more. And you just, but I don't like that. I don't like that because it makes me uncomfortable. Now I like you and I have to tell you I'm broke. But you list your prices, which is exceptional. I think especially women don't list their prices. They're afraid to, I don't want to put it out there. Maybe it's too much. Maybe you do it. So tell me how you got through that, or if that was difficult for you. Maybe it wasn't.
I think that there are some good reasons to list your prices. I also think there's some good reasons not to list your prices. I kind of experienced exactly what you just talked about, where you're really excited about working with somebody and you had that conversation, and then, you're like, okay, I do want to do this. And then they tell you what the financial investment's going to be. And you're like, I
Oh,
can't mortgage my house this
yeah.
month. Like, I got 4 kids to feed. Like, so some people, and I saw this one particular woman who I actually really love. And, one thing I've heard her say is that if she wanted to invest in something, she found a way to do it. And a lot of people will be like, open up a credit card or take out a small loan. And, from my mentality, I'm not that far ahead in life yet where it's a smart decision to take out an investment like that for, a business coach. Because maybe they're awesome, but there's a lot that aren't. Or maybe we start working together and we don't really buy. So I like to treat other people the way that I like to be treated. So if people take a look at my pricing and they're like, nope, then it's best that we don't get on the phone call. And either way, because we're both busy people, and it doesn't pay to waste anybody's time like that. And I don't like being salesperson. I don't like trying to have to convince you that you need me, because the truth is you don't. There's other people out there who do what I do. And what I've found is that a lot of small business owners, they get totally freaked out by my pricing. So when I talk to these startup founders, they're like, oh, that's totally reasonable. So I don't want to fight for the small business owner who is like, oh my God, that's scary. When I'm in front of the person who's right for my company, the person that's right for me to work with, they don't blink an eye at my pricing.
Exactly. No, I love it. I think it's fantastic. Tell me, and you're right, because if I looked at it and I was like, oh, I could actually figure that out. And I think people figure out a lot more than they realize if it's a priority.
Yeah.
You're right. People will figure it out. I think there's a limit to that, but you are 100% accurate. Yeah, there is definitely a limit to that. But I love that you put it out there, because you're right. If I'm a new business owner and I really know I need marketing and I look and I can't do it yet, but also if I love what you do, I can reach out and say, hey, what you have doesn't fit. Can we talk about maybe something else? And it would open up a completely different discussion that would actually probably be mutually beneficial, instead of, you're right, wasting your time. So
yeah, that's why I offer the consulting options, because my highest tier, my monthly retainer, is just not affordable for small business owners. So I've got consulting options where we can work together on, a smaller basis. But you're absolutely right. It's got to be a good fit for everyone. That's honestly why I don't do monthly contracts, which I was talking to a potential client one day and they were just blown away by that. So listen, I'm not here to trap you. I don't want your money for 6 months if by month 3 you don't feel good about our work together. And that makes it really easy for people to get started with me, because if they're done after 30 days, they're done. But I've never had anybody work with me for 30 days and then quit. So just not forcing people into it with contract has actually been a really good decision for me and for my business.
I think it's awesome. So you've had several, you've pretty much, once you inadvertently fell into marketing, you pretty much have stayed there. So I know you said you were all over the place initially. I get that in business and trying to figure out who your target market is and what's the best way to present yourself. I think most of us struggle with that. But what other, because your website has changed. So
it has.
what's changed with that? Because I haven't been on your initial website.
So when I first started, the website was makingmoxie.com. And that's still up, but it's actually going to be redirecting to shaunaarmitage.com soon. So when I first started, I didn't know how I felt about going out under my own name. I felt like I needed to have a brand. I needed to have a company. And that's kind of what I shot for. And it all made sense to me at the time. And I didn't want to just have another marketing blog. Like, everybody's got a marketing blog. And it's so saturated out there. So I wanted to talk about something that was important to me. So I started writing a little bit about marketing, a lot about female entrepreneurship. I had managed the editorial for the company that I worked with before. So I had some contributors who still wanted to work with me and wrote for my new blog. And that was a great experience. But it got to the point where the female entrepreneur stuff, again, as much as I was really passionate about it, it just wasn't clicking. I wasn't attracting people. I wasn't selling, any of my consulting. I wasn't selling any of my big packages. And, this year I hired a creative lead, and, she's like, you do market research for your clients all the time. Reach out to your clients, reach out to your audience and figure out what's missing. And overwhelmingly, they said, I didn't even know making Moxie was a thing. Like somehow I got connected to you, or somehow I had heard about you, and I wanted to work with you. And that was kind of the point where it was like, wow, I'm hiding behind this brand name. People actually value me and what I bring to the table. So it was a really hard decision, because making Moxie has such cool connotations. And a lot of people do really like the brand name, but ultimately, I am my business. I'm my skill set, and that's what people really value about what I bring to the table. So I decided to kind of come out from that cover and really make the switch to owning it, that I am the face of my company.
So you had a team with making Moxie. Do you still have the same team now, or how did that?
I never had a team, actually. I had contributors. So I had a bunch of women who contributed to the blog. And I had freelancers here and there for maybe a design project or whatever needed to be done. But I was definitely a one-woman show. Now that I'm Shauna Armitage, now that I'm myself, I actually do have a team. I have 2 girls who work for me part-time. And, like I said, one of them is my creative lead. And one of them is my content lead. And they're just fantastic. And that was a huge step for me in my business, because I wanted to make sure that I was generating enough revenue before I hired someone. But hiring people has been really helpful in taking a lot of things off my plate, and helping me move forward at a really strong pace. And I thought I could do a lot of it on my own, and a lot of it I could, but there was just kind of a point in my growth where it didn't make sense to do it all on my own anymore.
Yeah, I get that. And because you get that, you understand it from your client's perspective too.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of people who are at the point where they really need help, but affording it is hard, or letting go of things is hard. And that transition is kind of awkward in the beginning. And yeah, exactly. I mean, I've been a virtual assistant for years, and I do it online from my house, and people still have trouble letting go of it. I'm not taking over anything. I'm just helping to reduce the load a little bit, taking care of that, all the little extra stuff. So I understand it from both perspectives, just like you do. So now you've been with the same guy for over 10 years now and 4 kids later. So I want to update that. Is it still as much fun?
Is what?
Is it still as much fun?
It is as much fun. It's just different, the beginning of the relationship, it was fast. It was a whirlwind. And, the beginning of the relationship is always very exciting. And we have this interesting thing where we were together for about a year before our son was born. We were together for only, 7-8 months before I got pregnant. So kids having a child around has always been a part of our dynamic. So we'll have to see if we still like each other, we still have anything to say to each other when they're out of the house. But we actually went on a short weekend trip for our anniversary. We went snowmobiling and did some hot springs, and it was so much fun to be able to do things together. And I think ultimately we just really like each other and enjoy each other as people. So, no matter how much time goes by in our relationship, the fact that we're still friends is what
Yeah.
is always going to keep, our relationship healthy and strong.
I love that. I want to do the update because I knew it had been more than 10 years. So, I mean, that's a
Yep,
success separately. Is he still military?
he is. I think that he's going to be military for forever until they make him retire.
That's awesome. And moving now is a lot easier for you because your community, a lot of it is online.
It's a lot easier in terms of my job, because I don't have to look for a new job where I go. Wouldn't say moving is easy. We have a zoo. We've got 2 dogs. We've got 4 kids. When we first moved, we didn't have furniture. We didn't have a couch. So moving was not that hard. Now we're, more established as a family with our growing brood, and everybody's got, a dresser and a bed and all that stuff. So I'm dreading the physical part of moving next time, but I'm actually really looking forward to it. We're in Colorado now, and I love it. Colorado's awesome, but I'm a traveler at heart, and I'm really looking forward to the next adventure.
Right. I loved it. You know what? I didn't like everywhere we lived in the military, but I wouldn't have known if I had never gone and tried. And I probably would have never tried if we hadn't been in the military. Yeah. I mean, it was so much fun. Bless you. It was so much. It was really, if you have an adventurous spirit, it was really fun to go places for a couple of years and find out, no, this is not where I want to stay, but I'm really going to experience. So, yeah.
And that's the thing. It's a couple of years. So if you don't like it, then you get to move on. You're not stuck.
And you know that you don't like it. I mean, I would have never known what the South was like if I hadn't lived in 2 different places in the South. And that I am a damn Yankee at heart. And so the South probably, they don't like me equally as much as I was uncomfortable there. But there were so many great memories, even though I'm like, I would never live back there again. I have awesome memories of it. It wasn't like this big, horrible, terrible, I cried myself to sleep every single day. It was just not probably the best fit for me. But yeah, I loved that I got to know that. So yeah, I love that attitude. Now, I would like to end on you giving those new business owners and startups some advice or things that will make their life a little bit easier. Can we do that?
Yeah, absolutely. The first thing that I would say is there's a lot that you don't know that you don't know. And you can't find solutions to problems that you don't know exist. So find a mentor, whether it's LinkedIn, maybe somebody you had worked with previously. If you're new to business, figure out what needs to be done in your business. Talk to an accountant or a CPA. If you can't hire somebody for marketing, at least pay for a consult so you can learn a little bit about the strategies that you need to do. Invest in your success early on, even if it's just in these small ways. Because you much rather figure out that stuff in the beginning, the best that you can, than be in business for a while and then feel like it's not working and not really know why. So I think that that's really important. And especially if you're going to work from home, go to a co-working space or have a day out where you meet friends for drinks, because and I can say this unequivocally with 4 kids, I love my babies, but sometimes I just need to be around adults, and I don't get that working at home.
Amen to that. Oh my gosh, I get that too. We're at spring break right now and I work from home, and I don't want to feel like, you don't want to feel as a business owner that you can't wait till spring break ends so your kids go back to school so you can have Sienna. You don't want to feel that way. That sucks. It sucks to feel like, I love the kids. I want them around. So do you think it's finding that balance and loving every place that you're in equally, but having some separation? Yeah, that's what it is.
You have to have that separation, and you have to know when to hustle, and you have to know when to give yourself some space. And I think for us as parents, that's more important than ever, because I've seen people who are like, they work 80 hours a week on their business and they wear that as like a badge of honor that they haven't slept in a year. Like, no, that's not a good thing. That means that you're not doing things well. Like, if you're
Exactly.
doing things efficiently, if you're doing the right things, then you shouldn't have to put in that much time.
Right.
You should be able to work a regular work week and still have time for the important things in life.
Amen. Okay, we're going to end there. Thank you so much, Shauna.
Thanks for having me.